Concerning because this offense, while it can win the AFC North, like with this offense playing this way, they can't get to the Super Bowl.
No.
Even if the Chiefs are out, to be honest.
Correct.
And that would be a tragedy because for Lamar or Josh not to reach the Super Bowl in a year the Chiefs are either down or out.
Yep.
Yes. And the current situation is nothing short of a catastrophe. Without a doubt. Observing the performance of the Baltimore Ravens at this moment, and the manner in which they just suffered a defeat to the Cincinnati Bengals, it's profoundly disorienting. It's the middle of the night. I've just returned from a family gathering and rewatched the entire contest, already aware of the final outcome. And my prevailing thought was, what on earth transpired here? How could this match possibly have unfolded in this way? So I revisited it, literally just finished viewing it, and knew immediately I had to create a breakdown. It's staggering. Profoundly staggering. And the most confounding part is that I can't pinpoint a single solitary issue. It was an amalgamation of every conceivable element. A complete and total systemic failure. The offensive unit, the defensive squad, the strategic decisions from the sidelines. It was everything, collectively. To begin with, in prior contests, I've watched Lamar and had this nagging feeling that something was off. He simply didn't appear to be himself. That sensation was entirely absent from this performance. I didn't come away thinking, Lamar just isn't right. In fact, while watching, I thought, okay, this is the Lamar Jackson I recognize. But then, the critical errors emerged. The interception, the fumbles. It all just completely spiraled out of their control. And it's perplexing because initially seeing a final score of 32-14, I was baffled. How does that happen? Naturally, I went straight to the statistical summary, as I hadn't yet seen the live action. I needed to comprehend, after seeing the result, similar to my process with the Chiefs, Cowboys, and Packers-Lions games recently. I attempted to piece together the narrative of the game through the box score. How did this contest develop in such a fashion? I tried to deduce a few things and then concluded, all right, now I must watch the film. But again, there was just a strange, disjointed rhythm to the ground game. My initial assumption was, 32-14, they must have been completely stifled in the run game. But that wasn't the case. It was 12-7 at halftime. It was 19-14 in the third quarter, with only 3 minutes remaining. So it's like, Derrick Henry received only 10 rushing attempts, and I'm left questioning the rationale. 10 carries for 60 yards, a 6-yard average, 1 touchdown. He had one significant run of 28 yards, and of course that one reception he took for 44 yards on a simple check down that he managed to break for a huge gain. But I mean, it's just, I'm still genuinely grappling with how the Baltimore Ravens have arrived at this point, to be perfectly honest. This contest was defined more by unforced errors. I cannot simply conclude that the offensive line was inadequate, or that Lamar Jackson is still clearly not performing at a high enough level, or that he's too injured. I'm not prepared to make those assertions for this specific game. I believe Lamar moved effectively. He had 6 carries for 27 yards. Sure, he was contained quickly on a few occasions and took some sacks. That's undeniable. And one of the turnovers, you could certainly argue, had an element of misfortune to it. Frankly, you could make the case that 2 of them were somewhat fluky. But, it's just an unfortunate reality. They converted only 3 of 10 third down attempts, 1 for 2 on fourth down. Meanwhile, the Bengals were 8 for 19 on third down. And the most insane statistic that leaped out at me was this. The Bengals scored 32 points. They put 32 points on the board. They entered the red zone on 6 separate occasions and found the end zone only a single time. That is profoundly jarring. It truly is. Let's be clear, Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. I believe Joe Burrow is a tremendous quarterback. I consider Joe Burrow to be an elite-level player. I'm not sure why that is even slightly debatable, yet occasionally people seem to find it controversial. You have Jamar Chase and other weapons. And I'm just left thinking, I don't know. And the Ravens themselves only reached the red zone twice. They committed 5 turnovers. 5 turnovers. That's the core reason this game felt so bizarre to me. Knowing the statistical summary, knowing the final result, having all that information before hitting play. Because I see the turnover margin, I see all the data, and I'm just stunned. Lamar has 2 fumbles and a pick. I think, well, who else contributed? Then I see Isaiah Likely. I'm just thinking, what is occurring? And then I see they scored all these points. They hung 32 on the board. I'm thinking, how? Wait, how is this all adding up? McPherson kicked 6 field goals. 6. He accounted for 20 points by himself, excluding the extra points. And this is a textbook example of why it is perfectly acceptable to kick field goals. I've been vocally advocating for this. They posted 32 points and only scored 2 offensive touchdowns. They succeeded in one of their 6 red zone appearances. This was an anomalous game for a multitude of distinct reasons. For a plethora of different reasons. This was a statement victory for the Bengals and a calamitous defeat for the Ravens. Truly calamitous. And obviously the Ravens remain fortunate due to the current circumstances within their division with the Steelers. But they had a genuine opportunity to secure a 7th victory and solidify their position. They are still obviously in the mix, with, for instance, Jacksonville and Buffalo and the Chargers yet to play, but they're still up there with 7 wins, correct? They could have had 7 and just needed one of those other teams to lose. They'd at least be right in the thick of the race. And I believe that victory would have officially clinched the division for them? I forget the precise clinching scenarios, as you obviously have to wait for the Steelers' results. But you're still right there, right? You're, at a minimum, maintaining pace with the Steelers or potentially surpassing them. It would have been like, okay, great, now you're securely locked in. But even if not, you're still at least positioned favorably for a wildcard spot, in case one of those other teams falters. Because the mindset for, say, another contender is hoping one of those teams slips up, thinking, okay, the Chiefs will leapfrog them. And then the whole calculus is, yeah, but you still have the Ravens to worry about. Now, you're both still matched neck and neck, and it's like, I don't know how you feel confident about either of these squads at this precise moment. I would feel more confidence in the Kansas City Chiefs, I know that. I am certain of that. Watching this game was disconcerting. It genuinely was. It was. It's jarring specifically because I hold such immensely high expectations and faith in Lamar Jackson and the Ravens organization. And irrespective of who is on the field, I still anticipate a higher caliber of performance. There was one particular play, a scramble by Lamar. I don't recall. It was more of him buying time within the pocket than his typical designed run. But then I forget who he even targeted with the pass, honestly. But it was a magnificent play, a beautiful throw. He appeared fluid, he seemed comfortable, and you get that kind of result. And yet the final outcome remains a complete puzzle to me. It really is. This was one of those games where I considered, maybe I won't publish a video tonight and will instead do it tomorrow, because I genuinely need to ponder this further. I need to sit with this. I want to hear the perspectives of others and kind of flesh out my own analysis, because I feel like I don't know what I just witnessed. I truly don't. I'm just left with this feeling of not comprehending what that was. I simply do not know what that was. I am aware Lamar faced pressure, but that's why I stated earlier, you can't simply blame the offensive line. Because that wasn't the primary source of the collapse. That's what I'm attempting to articulate. That is not where the downfall originated. It's not as simple as saying, oh, if we just had more time, the plays would materialize. It's that you had some of the plays, but then you simply failed to execute, or you literally coughed up the football or threw the crippling interception. It's like, this was more about self-sabotage, rather than a simple lack of talent in that immediate moment. I perceive it as a failure in execution and self-inflicted wounds more than I am inclined to say, well, what can you do? The pass catchers aren't skilled enough or the offensive line is subpar. It was just, I don't know, honestly. To provide a little perspective, first of all, we are all aware that the Cincinnati Bengals defense is substandard. The pressure allowed by the Baltimore Ravens offensive line was, I believe, 21 instances. For the Green Bay Packers game, it was 18. And yet the experience and outcome were entirely dissimilar. And so that's the point I'm striving to make here. I don't want to lazily conclude that the offensive line is the root of all these problems. It can certainly be a contributing factor, and I'm uncertain how reliable these pressure numbers are at the moment. Honestly, they sometimes get adjusted. I believe things are a little different now, because even when you visit the primary statistical website where this is listed, it's not fully updated yet. So, a lot of this data requires further vetting, and I personally don't tally pressures myself. I rely on the established services to provide the official count. So, those figures are technically subject to modification. I will certainly take another look, but yeah, it's just a truly peculiar and concerning predicament the Baltimore Ravens currently find themselves in. And I just don't know what to articulate. I don't know what course of action you take moving forward. I don't know where the confidence is supposed to originate. I don't know from where the optimism is meant to spring. It's like, even if they manage to stumble into the postseason, I'm not sitting here thinking, this team is dangerous. This team can inflict some damage. I do not feel that way presently. I'm not asserting that my perspective can't evolve, but I just don't sense it. I just don't. And that's why it's just a very strange position to be in. Just a very strange place to be with this franchise. But those are merely my reflections. I would be absolutely delighted to hear yours. What are all of your thoughts regarding the Baltimore Ravens succumbing to the Cincinnati Bengals? Please share your perspectives in the comment section below. I read every single comment, whether you are in agreement with me or you vehemently disagree. Either way, let's engage in some discussions. Let's get into some spirited debates, but ultimately, let's just have an enjoyable exchange. And please do consider subscribing. We are constructing a phenomenal community here, and I would absolutely adore seeing you become a part of it. I am committed to building something we all feel a genuine connection to, something we are truly thrilled to be involved with. I believe we are well on our path to achieving that. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It genuinely assists with visibility and the platform's algorithm. Thank you so very much. I will see you next time.